Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of the Casual Comic Cast. I am, of course, Matt Stain, your resident DC guy,
and Wes Fontaine here with majority of Marvel's info.
Most of your Marvel, and we kind of went that way with the news this week. You kind of stayed with Marvel, and I looked mainly at DC
Well,
stuff.
I have a few other things that are
I'm just saying
of
mainly.
Marvel.
That's what it was this week.
I have a few things other than Marvel.
But you wanted to start off with something, of course.
Yes, in recent weeks we have, not intentionally, but
brought on Spawn
with the whole
mistake.
The little mistake of mentioning him with Marvel. We all know Image Comics. But anyway, so some more information about Spawn. Spawn is supposedly actually getting a reboot movie that is supposed to be darker, rated R Spawn.
Yes.
All right, so
did I mention yes? He deserves a
basically, from what I got as information, it's supposed to be, like I said, rated R, darker movie, and Spawn is supposed to be more or less like a darker, like ghostly kind of figure.
Okay.
He kind of swoops in, does whatever, kind of goes away. So that's the kind of feel of what they're going for the movie.
Hey, that makes sense.
And it's supposed to be kind of a lower budget. The creator, Todd McFarlane, I believe we mentioned last week. The creator, he actually is saying that he's been working on a script. The script,
that's great.
The script is about 183 pages right now, and he says they typically take about 120 pages for a movie.
Yeah, that's about 2.5.
But he says he's trying to make some cuts down, and he says that by the end of things, it probably
he says 180, right?
183.
183. That's 3 hours and 3 minutes.
Well, he said that he's trying to make some cuts down, and he said even with the cuts,
make some big cuts.
Even with the cuts, it's apparently only going to go down to, he thinks, about 140 pages worth of stuff.
Wow, that's 2 hours and 20 minutes of movie. That is insane.
So that's roughly what we're looking at for Spawn. That's
so we're looking at a low-budget Spawn avatar.
Yeah. He said he's going to keep it low budget, and he's going to try to take in charge himself.
That's
so that way then somebody else doesn't take it and kind of butcher it like how the old one was.
Yeah. So you don't want anybody taking your concept.
Basically, he's going for the low budget for the aspect that he wants to stay in control. He's keeping the control, so that's what he's going with. And I think this actually sounds like it'd be a decent.
I think the low budget aspect is going to bring a much grittier version of it out, and that's going to help it so much. Because you think Spawn, you think dark, evil, gritty, demonic. Like, everything that comes to mind when you think low-budget horror movie, almost. So the low budget should do nothing but help it.
So I think that's a little bit of interesting information that I just stumbled upon because I looked it up because of us mentioning Spawn the past 2 weeks.
My mistake, and then clearing it up.
It actually led into some little bit of interesting information. And more about Spawn is Kevin Smith is supposed to direct a Spawn spin-off series called for Sam and Twitch.
Wait, so Kevin Smith's directing?
Yes. That's the information that I found.
Okay, I don't know much about Sam and Twitch, but the fact that Kevin Smith's directing it makes me happy because that dude, when he does TV, is great. His movies aren't the greatest work, and even he's said that they're not the greatest thing. He's very, very low on himself sometimes. But, oh my God, his TV work is great. He's done some Supergirl, he's done some Flash episodes.
Well,
he's wonderful.
That's the information that I stumbled upon
that is exciting.
That was relevant to Spawn is Sam and Twitch are getting a spin-off series that they were introduced in Spawn series. And Kevin Smith is supposed to direct it, and the series is supposed to be for BBC, I believe.
Oh, really?
That's the information that I found. So
wow.
We'll see more. Hopefully, we'll find out some more information.
Hopefully, it gets put on BBC America, I would assume, with Kevin Smith directing it.
But there's some information about that.
That's awesome. I'm now psyched. Solely for Kevin Smith directing that. That is amazing.
So there you go, folks. You found out some information about Spawn thanks to this guy's mess up.
Yeah! Go messing up to get news.
So, back to what I think that you were originally trying to get me to start with, but I got ahead of myself and started talking about Spawn. Got a little excited, talking about stuff from past weeks. But let's go ahead and talk about future news, which is what we were trying to give a little bit of notice for. This video will be up on Monday.
Yep.
But we will do. Everybody knows May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. Star Wars Day.
Conveniently, that's how I planned on starting that special episode of the Casual Comic Cast.
Well,
so thanks for taking that away from me.
You can still start it.
It's not special anymore.
But there is Star Wars Day. We will be doing a Star Wars special.
Yep. That'll be interesting soon.
So
we're not the brightest on that situation.
Well, I looked up a little bit, so it's pretty much that video will be nothing but strictly Star Wars news.
So probably a lot of The Last Jedi news plus I do know that they announced Episode 9's release date. That's the main stuff that I know.
We won't get into that.
Yeah,
in this
we won't
video.
get. You're not going to hear any of that.
This is just an announcement to stay in tune for that.
Not to mention belated National Superhero Day. Happy National Superhero Day, everybody. Even though that happened yesterday when we were recording this.
All right.
So what else you got? Technically, do we jump into Marvel or DC first?
Well,
the way we should
one more thing before we get to Marvel and DC news.
Okay,
we still have
we
something
still got
else.
some other news to go.
Well, although apparently this actually somewhat falls under the category of DC. Apparently, according to what I saw, it says it's a DC comic. I don't believe that because it's definitely not in DC's.
It may be under Vertigo.
It might be like DC just does the comics, but it's not really DC's, like Batman, whatever.
Yeah. It's not in their main.
So Sony announced that the new Masters of the Universe movie would be released December 18th, 2019. Oh my God.
1920, man, we're going back in time for Masters of the Universe.
Dyslexia off my all over the place.
He-Man is DC owned.
So okay, well, Masters of the Universe, the movie, we have an announced date. Granted, however, I would take this with a grain of salt here, folks, because
what are you going to add to this?
Well, because Sony, they have release dates for movies. They've had them for years. We've seen that we were supposed to get the Amazing Spider-Man 3, 4, stuff like that.
That's very true. They just planned out a lot of movies ahead of schedule before.
They just put these kind of placements for movies that they haven't even actually started because they are working on a script, but they actually
They haven't even done the script yet? I thought they had been working on this already.
The script is their main focus, and they're hoping the script is going to pull in A-list actors and director.
I do believe that
so that's their focus point.
Masters of the Universe should bring in some good casting. I mean, it's He-Man. Who doesn't want the opportunity to play He-Man or, in my personal opinion, the best role out of that movie, Skeletor? Yeah. They just get to do that constantly. That should be a big-name actor just going, yeah, the whole movie. But the fact that they want a 2019 release date and they haven't gotten a script ready yet, no, don't do that. Don't let out a release date when you don't have a script in hand.
Well, it sort of sounds like they, for the most part, have the script, but it's just like they're hoping, like the script was so heavily focused on that they're hoping that it will bring in A-list actors and like a A-list director. Okay, so they're hoping it's going to bring in like
they have their script ready. They're just looking to see at this point if it's going to bring people to them or if they have to go out and cast. Okay, I guess that makes sense, but I would highly advise them to stay away from release dates when you haven't even kind of gotten a feel for who you're getting and all that.
Think about this. It was Sony. Sony released
I don't want to bash Sony that bad.
I'm not trying to, but the point is they put these. I mean, they have the release date for Venom, and I don't think that they have this script for that. And the Venom movie is supposed to be released sooner than this, so I think they have more time for this one. This one's more.
I'm just saying, though, a year to 2 years is a long time to look at something. It's not a long time to put something together. You look at some of the biggest movies out there that have made a lot of money, and I'm not even talking about just comic book movies. They took years upon years upon years to make. Avatar, yes, it's not a comic movie, took 7 years.
Well, if you think about it too, this is an interesting piece of information that I could spin off of what you just said. So related to the comic book movies, see, I think that I don't know fully what DC does as far as their planning goes, how far ahead they plan.
Yeah.
But I do know for a fact that Marvel, they actually plan their universe 10 or more years in advance. All of this stuff.
Yeah, that's a genius
They've
idea.
already been working on it. They've already been talking about it for years and years and years.
And it allows for you to make changes at a quick notice too.
And that's why their movies are so good. That's why their universe is brought together so well.
That's why their setup's been as permanent as it's been, and we won't even get to the DC side of that because we touched on that way too much as it is.
There was just an interesting piece of information based on what you said.
They gotta take time. Do not try and push this movie out because it's Masters of the Universe. I want to see a Battle Cat with He-Man riding it as badly as anybody else who grew up listening to "I Have the Power." But just no, don't force it. Do not force this. I think I've gone enough of me saying don't force a movie out.
Well, I think those are a little bit interesting that we can somewhat see maybe a Masters of the Universe in a Spawn movie in the future, as well as the spin-off series.
Man, I would love to see just Skeletor. And you know how much merchandise that would sell.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen anything He-Man for years, but I still love the idea. They've talked about that for years, but it sounds like that maybe they finally will get this out, but we'll see.
I hope that it comes out and it's a good movie. I just hope that they take their time and don't force it.
All right, so now we'll actually officially
let's move into the actual Marvel and DC news. You want to start off Marvel or DC?
We'll start off with Marvel here because this kind of somewhat flows in with the whole Sony talk.
Okay.
So supposedly a post-credit scene or Stan Lee is just in the movie in various different scenes, and it is announced that Stan Lee officially in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 coming out this Thursday.
Yep, gonna be fun.
So he supposedly is a watcher. So
let's put this out. There was the theory that Stan Lee was a watcher, and that's why he's in every Marvel movie. Kevin Feige came out and stated, "Yeah,
the theory is true.
He's a watcher. We thought it was a cool concept, and it made total sense."
And I think that this works because honestly, if you think about it, Stan Lee has cameoed in not just in the MCU. Yeah, he's cameoed in Fox's movies, as well as
Sony's
movies. And I mean, we already know that Sony is obviously in the MCU now with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But I think this is interesting because then there's a little bit of glimpse of hope still that we will see X-Men and whatever just blend into the MCU.
I'll get into it as we get going here.
Think about it.
There is one more thing I want to talk about on the line of somebody coming into the MCU, but I'll save it for as we get going in this topic.
Well, so the whole aspect of people coming in, if you think about what Fox is doing right now, they seem to be kind of putting X-Men for the most part on the kind of back burner and focusing on Deadpool, which I'll get more into a little bit.
And it's a genius idea because that's your moneymaker is Deadpool, right?
Well, I'll get more. I have a little bit of information about Deadpool, but we will. They do still have the Dark Phoenix, X-Men Dark Phoenix is coming out. So we still have that.
And who doesn't like Dark Phoenix? Come on.
Still the same actress from Game of Thrones playing the role. And I believe they have another. I think X-Men New Mutants is supposedly supposed to still be with the same kind of cast. Like it's still in the same universe as that, if you will. Or same time frame.
All I'm saying is Daphne Keene X-23 in that movie. That's all I want.
No. She's not going to be in it because it's the same time frame. It's back in like the early Xavier moments and stuff.
Xavier moments. And which still sounds great.
So they're finishing off like that trilogy or whatever.
Yeah, they're finishing off that story arc that they built.
And it sort of seems like they're going to kind of put that on the back burner after that because they know that fans aren't really too caring about it. Personally, I think that the movies are still good. I still watch them, but I realize why fans aren't liking it so much.
And I can take it from that type of perspective with those fans because I've never been a huge fan of the X-Men movies other than guys like Hugh Jackman.
I think it's just they keep getting their timeline. They're kind of all over the place.
It's the timeline issue.
They're struggling to... They made it make sense with one movie, and then after that they still are continuing these other movies, and then it's just like, where do you want us to be right now? Where do you want us to?
And I'll say this: I know that they've said plenty of times that Logan was a standalone. It's not canon. It doesn't go along with their timeline. If I'm Fox, I take the success that Logan was and utilize it. Because if you take that, put it into your timeline, and utilize the death of Wolverine as kind of the end of that story arc. Because you could say, like, Dark Phoenix is kind of the movie that comes before Logan. Let's just say timeline-wise, if that were to be the thing. That movie happens, Logan happens, New Mutants could be kind of a start of a whole new
The Dark
timeline.
Phoenix thing does take place before Logan, obviously,
yeah,
because it's in that era.
Yeah, you know what I mean, though, timeline-wise.
It's just a matter of, like, I think Fox had their whole X-Men universe. They tried to reboot it, and they kind of just made it a little bit more of a chaotic, like, nobody knows because actors changed and they didn't...
Trying to utilize, what was it, Days of Futures Past was when they rebooted it.
Which was a good tie-in that somewhat made it make sense.
You could comprehend
but
it.
then you continue with these younger actors, and
it's just like, so wait, which timeline are we in?
I know, but they keep saying that it supposedly happened before then, but yet it's whatever.
Yeah.
We get the point. So, with that aspect, I think that possibly after this trilogy, after they finish off the X-Men, I think that they will still continue X-Men, but it will be through Deadpool's kind of
the X-Force
timeline or whatever.
They'll introduce the X-Force through...
It's possible that now that we know this information, back to the Stan Lee thing, now that we know the information about that, it's possible we could see somebody come over, and we said in weeks past that Hugh Jackman has wanted to come back to the role if it was in the MCU. We also know that the Doom actor from Fantastic Four, he said he would only come back to play Doom if it was in MCU. So... I think this leads a lot of opportunity. Whether Fox and Marvel will get this through or not, I don't know. But it definitely, I think Stan Lee is definitely that breaking point that will help bring it together for the better, for the universe, as well as for the fans.
Well, now to bump off that, because I love that you brought up Stan Lee there right at the end of that. The key with him being a watcher, and this is something I looked up just actually a little bit before... we started this. It was either earlier today or last night. With the whole thing of him being a watcher, he's seen now. Spoiler alert here. This is one scene from Guardians that I'm gonna spoil because I read the article. I did not spoil myself any of the end credit scenes. I hope, but there's a scene in Guardians where you can see Stan Lee multiple times talking to different people, which are believed to be the Watchers. Now, what I read while reading the article, and I didn't know this, the Watchers are normally supposed to be Fantastic Four members. In the comics, that's normally who the Watchers are associated with, is the Fantastic Four members. Maybe is this a great way to tie in the Fantastic Four into the MCU and bring them in to get the Fantastic Four movie we've never gotten?
I can bounce off of what you just said.
Boom! So, we're doing this on the fly, folks.
Honestly, I had completely forgot about this piece of information before you mentioned the Fantastic Four. But we'll roll with it, okay?
Exactly.
So, Thor Ragnarok, in the trailer, there is a piece behind the guy, for the life of me, I just forgot.
The Watcher?
No. Behind the guy in charge of the games. Where
Jeff Goldblum's character. The Grandmaster or something like that.
I think that's what it is. I don't know why I lost the information. Sorry about that.
I know him as Jeff Goldblum's character. And
behind him is like this thing that's designed in it, like the wall, the backdrop or whatever. It looks like it's something from one of the Fantastic Four comics. And the interesting thing is the Fantastic Four, they put that together. So they kind of they have that little Easter egg there for the Fantastic Four.
So plus Guardians with Ragnarok.
Yeah, plus with your thing, that's a little bit of...
Are we going to get the Fantastic Four movie we've always wanted? That's the question.
Dated back just as far as Captain America First Avenger. We did mention this in weeks past as well. There's the original suit for Human Torch.
Yep. Well, you can also put that kind of as a joke to Chris Evans playing Johnny Storm in the original Fantastic Four movie.
I would say that is what
I'd say that's more what it is than it being, hey, Fantastic Four going to be in the MCU.
However,
now I think the Ragnarok and Watcher situation...
Plus with the failure of this last reboot for Fantastic Four, I'd say the next reboot...
Maybe, just maybe, we're going to see an MCU Fantastic Four movie.
One could only hope.
Which means maybe we'll finally get that Fantastic Four movie we've all hoped to get. Not the biggest fan of the four.
Or
but,
maybe you don't even have to bring them in as a standalone film, too.
You could bring Reed in a movie.
Yeah, he could tie in with...
Just bring him in talking to Tony.
Yeah.
Because he's always around Tony, and he's built a robot Thor, which a lot of people thought we might see at some point if there was ever a time with the Fantastic Four in Civil War.
It originally was rumored that we were going to get the robot in Civil War, but that obviously didn't pan out. But
so, I mean, you could always bring Reed Richards in just as a background character during a movie talking to Tony Stark. I mean, they are very kind of placeable characters.
And you think about it, Spider-Man has actually teamed up with them in the past. You could make a, dare I say it, I mean, in the first Spider-Man movie, he teams up with Iron Man. Maybe the second one, he teams up with Fantastic Four.
And that could lead into Spider-Man joining the Four, getting the awesome white suit.
No, Marvel has actually started announcing their movies for 2020.
Really?
Like their next set of things.
Their next phase or whatever.
The thing is if they strike that deal with Sony to still keep Spider-Man on and whatever for the next round of contracts and everything, we could see... There's speculation here.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. We could see, instead of having somebody cross over into Spider-Man's movie for his first one, his second one, maybe he's by himself, or maybe you see, obviously, your normal cameos, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'd say right now, Tony Stark, like Robert Downey Jr. being Iron Man, that's just to help
kind of bring the star power, not only to Homecoming.
As well as the tutelage.
But it continues to play off what you did in Civil War as well.
Yeah, so that works for the first movie. I'd say the second one's more or less probably himself.
I've got a feeling we'll see Peter either on his own or with a little help from maybe a Black Cat.
But back to what I was saying with the Fantastic Four, if they come back to the MCU, you could see maybe after we've seen Tom Holland... get his establishment in the MCU, we could see the Fantastic Four get introduced and have him cross over in their first movie to help give them that nice fan boost.
Then maybe we'll get to see the white suit, which is really good too, because I just want to see all the different Spidey suits because they're amazing. So
there's a little bit of interesting information that may or may not pan out, but one could dream,
Well, we've got rumors, not rumors, we've got speculation on our end, and I'm sure there's others that have thought it since Kevin Feige said that stuff about the Watchers. That the Fantastic Four could be a thing in the MCU, and I'm not the biggest Fantastic Four fan, but I'm not going to say no to a good Fantastic Four movie.
Well, I think that people in general have just learned to know and trust everything that Marvel does because they can take characters...
They've been consistent, they've been constant, they've been successful.
Well, and then they can take characters that people may or may not have given a shit about, if you will.
Look at Vulture.
And make the people actually care because it's done in a very nice manner, and sometimes they stray a little different, but
they're given the spotlight that sometimes in the comics they're not given. You look at a lot of characters, the Sandman, even in... Now, this is going way back. In the third Spider-Man movie, I had no idea who the Sandman was until that movie happened, and he gets a good amount of spotlight early on in that film. So, at least nowadays especially, they're introducing characters in a way where you're going to see them once, twice, 3 times, maybe 4 times during a movie, and you're going to learn exactly who that character is, so... Maybe down the road you'll see him again and we'll learn even more, or you'll just be at home and you'll be like, who's that guy? I shouldn't be doing this because you'll be doing this. But
I kind of have a little bit of 2 segues for 2 different conversations, so it's which one we want to talk about here. Whether we want to go into back to Fox's situation or if we want to continue off the whole...
You can bounce whichever way you want.
Decisions.
Is it pretty much Deadpool or something else at this point?
Well, we're talking about our speculations about the future of the MCU, and I have this whole spiel about it, so I feel like we should just continue the speculations and then go back to actual, for the most part, facts.
I mean, we can jump into your giant speculation. I know you told me you got
originally we were going to save it towards the end of the Marvel stuff, but I think this is a nice little
spot to add it in there.
So we'll start off with facts and then continue with the speculation. So go to the facts. Kevin Feige says that Thanos' arc will actually mirror the Infinity Gauntlet storyline from the comics.
So they're going straight to the comics.
With that being said, so then you have All right, so I believe Thanos like dies or some sort of aspect along that kind of line, or no, this is a little bit of theory. Is he could die from the third Avengers or quote unquote die, and come back in the fourth one, because that was another thing is the actress that plays Gamora came out and kind of possibly spoiled the fourth movie with it titled Infinity Gauntlet.
Well, they have not confirmed that it's Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, they came out and said that is not the case, that that's false. But
take everything with a grain of salt at this point.
With that information, with him saying that it mirrors the Infinity Gauntlet storyline,
kind of
he could come back and kind of do that sort of thing. However, in the comics, he can't actually die because Death actually banished it. Like, he cannot come to hit her realm.
Court order restraining order. So you ain't coming here.
So he can't actually really die. But the thing is I was reading the article earlier before we started this, and what it comes down to, which is kind of ties in with the Guardians of the Galaxy statement, that we know that Adam Warlock is on his way and he could be coming in with Volume 3.
Yep.
And it saddens us, like, honestly, that he's not a part of Infinity War, but he could be a part of the fourth one, which, because in the comics, Adam Warlock is the one that basically takes out Thanos. So after the rest of the Avengers and everything pretty much die and get decimated by Thanos. And so
conveniently, I'm just going to jump in here with that. We have seen the images they've shown for what apparently is a screenshot, that has to do with Avengers 4, Captain America's shield in half, which I think a lot of people are taking is going to be the death of the Avengers.
Well, they showed the shield in half when it came to Age of Ultron in that little flash that Tony had with the Tesseract. So they, honestly, that within itself was a nice little image of the future of where they're going with Infinity War, really, because honestly, we may still see that scene. They just literally take that scene, place it after they get all defeated, and maybe Thanos is standing on top of them this time or something,
Yeah, something that could be the situation.
Because if you think about it...
You know what? Maybe we'll just be as positive as we can, and I'll just say that Chris Evans doesn't come back and we get Bucky. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, he didn't show Bucky as the dead one, so, that's the thing.
That's right. Maybe we're getting Bucky. As Cap? No, probably not. But a man can dream.
So that's just a little interesting. Let's see.
Anything else you gotta go with this theory?
Well, with the whole situation this kind of still follows the whole aspect of our future idea that maybe Fantastic Four, we could see them. You know that we said last week that they have come out and said that they're not doing phases anymore. Yeah. It's going to be something different.
It's going to be something entirely different.
So the interesting thing is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 actually takes 4 years before Infinity War.
Well, that's interesting. That's a big time jump.
So, which if you think about it, though, they're off in the galaxy. Yeah. It doesn't have
you don't know how much time is passing, really.
But with there being 4 years, and we already know Adam Warlock's not in there, so it's not needed, It's not before Infinity War. Yep. So, Volume 3, is it going to take place after Infinity War, or will it still be before Infinity War?
Yeah, the possibility is that the timeline could go Volume 3 follows Volume 2, which leads into Infinity War.
So just take this. Volume 2 doesn't necessarily actually
have to lead right into Infinity War.
Yeah.
For one of the few times we may be saying that the timeline doesn't go straight through. And
then picking back up, still continuing this Guardians of the Galaxy thing, we know that the phases aren't happening, and there's going to be something on a whole nother level. Yep. We also know that Wonder Man was supposed to be in Volume 2, whether that's apparently not happening now.
Whatever.
But Wonder Man was supposed to be in there. Adam Warlock was supposed to be in there. Adam Warlock will be coming to us, and obviously
the latest Volume 3.
Yeah, well, he's confirmed for Volume 3. Yeah. But we can speculate. Hopefully, he could be in.
Yeah, we would hope Infinity War would be nice.
But and then Wonder Man is supposed to come in at some point. We already know who the actor is supposed to be. So it's just when they bring him in. And so continuing with the whole aspect, we already know everybody on Earth, for the most part, other than like Doctor Strange and stuff like that, their contracts are kind of ending, and even with this whole Sony deal with Spider-Man too, so like everybody on Earth is just kind of done, you know, and Doctor Strange can still be on that cosmic level as well as the new Captain Marvel getting introduced.
Yep.
The only one that's not on that cosmic level,
almost spatial time situation.
The only one that's not on the cosmic level is Black Panther, but I'll get into a little speculation on him in a second.
Get your notepads out, folks. Take notes and try and debunk this right now.
But so Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange, they can still be on that cosmic level, and Thor can too. And if you think about it, I don't know how big his contract is, but it's obviously not as big as Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, nobody makes the money.
So if you wanted to renew anybody's contract, here's my thing: renew Mark Ruffalo and renew Chris Hemsworth.
Okay, so Hulk and Thor.
Don't renew anybody else. Let them die.
Ooh.
Because we already know Hulk and Thor in Thor Ragnarok.
So when you say anyone else, do you mean Sebastian Stan, the guy that plays Falcon? I'm sorry, I can't think of his name right now.
Okay.
Or are you just talking like the big names?
Bear with me on the fact this will be an aspect of not killing anybody. If you did not want anybody to die in Infinity War, which I think is stupid, but if you don't want anybody to die and the contracts expire, you don't renew them. But renew Chris Hemsworth and renew Mark Ruffalo for Hawk and Thor. Because we already know Thor Ragnarok has them going to little space adventure, really, if you will.
Hulk and Thor space adventure.
So they're on that cosmic level as well. So then you can take all of these characters that are on the cosmic level. They don't necessarily have to be based for Earth. Have them the whole new phases, or whatever they call them, because they're not doing phases anymore. It's a cosmic universe from now on, and which makes more sense because then they can deal with their own problems on a different planet, and you don't have to have people be like, why did whoever not come help whoever kind of situation, because it's just like, oh, you're somewhere else in the universe and you're on a different planet. That's why you didn't have help, because you're off in your own planet. And so, whereas you won't get a repeat of what I said before, where the second
Why was no one helping Thor?
The second Thor, nobody was helping him. So you can have that aspect. So I think that if they did that route, that would be pretty interesting, because you don't have to feel obligated that you have to have a cameo here, or a crossover here and there. You just have you can do it when you want to, when you feel the story is necessary. Yeah. But then with the speculation of what you were saying, keep Sebastian on, whatever, kill people off. So you could kill people off and have people take over the mantle.
It's not just Sebastian Stan being Bucky.
And then have kind of a little continuation, like a different Earth, if you will. Not a different Earth, but my point is rebooted kind of characters, different actors.
Almost, and then I don't want to say Earth 2 type of situation, because
it's the same Earth.
Yeah.
But
it's the same time frame, it's the same universe and all that, but it's just almost bringing in an entirely new cast.
Yeah, it's just new characters that pick up the mantle, but then you continue the same kind of Marvel universe that you've already established, but continue it as a cosmic level. Like I said, just renew those few contracts, keep the same actors, so people know it's still kind of associated. And you can have those few similar actors that are
so we get Sebastian Stan as Cap now, so Bucky takes over. Maybe they, for some reason, write in Riri Williams. She takes over Iron Man. We get those type of situations.
It could happen, or you don't even need. If you could kill off Iron Man, you don't need anybody to pick up the mantle for Iron Man yet, because in the comics you actually have Peter actually runs his own company in there. So you could, and they really are pushing this whole.
They're pushing Peter and Tony.
If they could renew the contract with Spider-Man. Spider-Man literally just takes up the mantle of Iron Man, and you don't have to worry about the Iron Man suit or anything. Spider-Man just literally fills that.
He rocks an Iron Spider
fills
suit.
That. Well,
he rocks an Iron Spider suit.
So he fills that role. He basically becomes the new Tony, if you will. And so there's that little bit of theory. But with my continuation of the theory of the whole cosmic level instead of focusing on Earth, and we already know, I said Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange could fit into that level, and that would make sense, and you don't have to touch on Earth. But obviously Black Panther just now getting introduced, his contract still is continuing.
Yeah.
So he would be the only pretty much one left on Earth if you wanted to ignore Earth.
So what we're saying is there's no one to help Black Panther.
No. Listen. So you could maybe have a crossover movie of Black Panther and Namor.
I mean,
introduce another character because they live on those both play on that whole
the whole
fictional
everything.
playing field of Wakanda's not really real.
Yeah.
You just know so in Africa and they're really high tech and then Atlantis, so you could kind of play into that.
Uh-huh.
So there you have it.
I'll say this much about it.
Also back on the cosmic level.
Oh Lord, he's
Howard the Duck.
Okay, I'm down with Howard the Duck.
Have a movie with Rocket Raccoon, Howard the Duck, and Groot,
yes.
or just Rocket Raccoon.
Yes.
Think about that. Think about that. You could just have the CGI characters, and think about this. The majority of sales, you were mentioning this, I believe, the majority of the sales for Guardians of the Galaxy is coming from like Groot and stuff like that. And you think about it, honestly, like girls, they go for the little cute things and stuff like that. Is where your sales are.
So what
making a whole movie,
with Howard the Duck, Rocket Raccoon, and
Groot, cosmic universe, folks.
Okay.
Huge theory. We talked about like what 3 or 4 different theories there.
Something like that. I'll say this much about it. Let me get my 2 cents in here about that. It's not gonna happen. We know this, but I like parts of it. And I hate parts of it. One, it's taking... It's doing the one thing we know they're not going to do, and that's kill off the big names. Iron Man, Captain America. We know they'd never do that. I like the idea of kind of keeping things out in outer space for a bit, and continuing the kind of galactic aspect they've been going with. For certain characters, like, of course, Hulk. We could then get our Planet Hulk movie, technically, if you were to keep it out there. With Thor, it gives him a different place to be instead of Asgard. Doctor Strange makes total sense. Captain Marvel makes total sense. Guardians,
because
they are the Guardians of
Captain
the Galaxy.
Marvel and Doctor Strange, like they are kind of guardians of Earth, but they still have that cosmic level to them. So
and of course, Doctor Strange can go wherever he wants to.
You can make them guard Earth, but like they could have a crossover movie of Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange or something. And you could even see Scarlet Witch still kind of be a part of the team and not change actresses, and she could be in with that same group.
Unless
you can see them
seal.
Guard Earth from like a different universe or something, or it'd still be like the cosmic / universal thing where you're guarding Earth, but you don't have to be on Earth.
Yeah. Now the issue with it is the big money issue when it comes to Marvel, and that's the big name characters: Cap, Iron Man, Spidey. Like, yeah, they're gonna keep Spidey even if they went with your theory. You would keep Spidey and run him as the new Tony. They're not going to kill off Iron Man and Cap, at least yet. Maybe Cap, because you've got Bucky introduced and he can take over the mantle immediately, but we know Tony's going to stay for at least a while, more than likely.
Well, that's the thing, too, is that kind of still touches on my theory of last episode, maybe before that, where I said that you could still have Tony Stark in the universe, but you saw at the end of Age of Ultron that he was trying to
just
leave.
not as Iron Man without the suit.
He wanted to give up the mantle, and he's doing the mentorship with Spider-Man. So even if you didn't want to do Riri, a.k.a. Ironheart, if you didn't want to do that, you could just have Spider-Man take over the mantle. Spider-Man proves his worth in the Homecoming movie and gets back his suit, and Stark just lets him he puts his faith that he will lead the new Avengers, or whatever they become.
Yeah. Then they introduce Nova and everybody else
to protect the world from harm and everything, and then he just kind of goes for a retirement kind of aspect,
situation.
So you don't have to kill him. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
As far as Cap goes, though, you need to kill Chris Evans. It needs to be done.
Rogers to at some point go and Bucky take.
And then keep Captain America, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But
let Bucky or Falcon take the mantle as they do in the
because
comics.
you have those
two choices.
Other setups, So.
I mean,
I think that's the best bet.
And you know how I feel about Howard the Duck and Rocket Raccoon in a movie. That I want Howard the Duck to have a standalone more than anything.
I feel like
great.
I feel like more or less that would be a huge comedy, more or less than action.
Oh yeah.
But
anything with Howard the Duck is going to add like 57% more comedy to that movie.
But
and if it's serious, it's officially a comedy movie at that point.
But I would love it though. So see, the thing is
I
think that it being more or less a comedy would actually be interesting because you can see that Marvel is branching out and they have their different feels for different movies. And some people that never have even seen Marvel movies may watch certain series or something. Like some people watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but they don't watch the movies.
Yeah, they don't watch the movies.
And then you have the Cloak and Dagger series that are coming out, and that seems more like kind of teen drama.
Yeah, it's
kind of along the lines of the CW stuff.
The good thing, I think a good thing to compare that to is Riverdale. It's very, drama. It's like, but this happens and this happens.
But the thing is like, it's still in the MCU. We know this. But it's just a different feel, like different kind of way to approach the MCU, really. And so that will draw people in. People will like that, but maybe not like the rest of the universe.
I think that fact just putting Howard the Duck on a billboard or a poster.
Well, I'm not talking about in that.
Do that. Just do that.
Maybe in the Galaxy for Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah.
No, just put Howard the Duck on a poster.
I don't see that happening.
Just do it.
But anyways, so you're getting new fans in because Marvel's willing to do like these different kind of based stuff. They're willing to branch out. It's not always in-depth action, like all intense action all the time. You have the comedies, which this will be a nice tie-in. You have the comedy aspect coming from the New Warriors. Yeah. That's supposed to be a comedy thing.
It's a sitcom.
But it's supposed to be in the MCU.
Yeah, still part of the MCU.
Originally, my feelings towards this was that I don't like it because you make them out to be a joke, kind of. And then that means that they never have that opportunity that they could cross over into the movie verse at some point if you wanted to. Like, because you just make them out to be a joke, and that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what they'll forever be. They'll be labeled that way.
At the same time, I like it because they're branching out. They're getting other fans in because people will like New Warriors more than other stuff. There's some people that would like that. Everybody loves different things. Yep. And
one key component to this is if you're bringing out these new characters in this different style of fashion, there's always the aspect of that character gets a cameo in a movie or gets put in a movie. Somebody's going to go to the movie just to see that.
Which is good because they're branching out. They're getting more fans from that. And then if they ever do actually decide to bring it all together officially, you have the hugest fan base that you could ever imagine because you have different views of going about movies and TV shows. So that's just an interesting thing. But if we could continue on with the New Warriors aspect.
Oh, we got more New Warriors.
We actually have, let me see here. We have the actual cast.
What?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
God. So who's casted?
We don't know who is actually playing the role, but I'm saying like who the character.
Yeah, okay, we know the.
Obviously, we already knew Squirrel Girl is leading it.
Yep,
that is what it is.
Isn't Mr. Invincible or isn't it Mr. Invincible is one of them? I believe.
Here, we will go in order here.
Well, that's the only one that I remembered the name of when I originally saw the New Warriors.
Squirrel Girl, aka Dorian Green.
Dorian Green.
Whatever. Nonetheless, Squirrel Girl, so there's that. Mr. Immortal, a.k.a. Greg...
Mr. Immortal, that's his name.
Greg Hollis.
Greg Hollis?
Hollis, whatever. I'm butchering names, folks, but we're going with it. So superpower, cannot die ever, maybe, so he says.
Yeah, he's lazy because he knows he's never going to die, so he can do whatever he wants whenever he wants.
And
I like his character.
Back to Squirrel Girl, her superpower, acrobatic, strong, can fight, and talk to squirrels.
Yeah, the most important one, talking to squirrels.
Talking to squirrels. Where's my nuts? Anyways. You know there's going to be a lot of nut jokes.
Yeah, I know.
Especially when we be in a comedy.
Oh, I got a feeling Mr. Immortal will be the one to make the jokes, too.
Speedball, a.k.a. Robbie Baldwin.
Baldwin? That sounds like a legitimate name. That
Okay,
dude
so-
actually sounds like he exists.
Superpower can launch kinetic balls of energy.
That's actually a cool idea.
All right. Micro-B?
Yeah,
I believe.
Micro B.
AKA Zach Smith.
The generic name that they had to come up with.
Okay, I apparently didn't read this whole
You
thing.
didn't read it
because, okay, superpowers can talk to germs.
Yep.
What the fuck?
Well, he can get extremely
I
tiny.
now know why this
right?
is a comedy. What the hell?
You can get extremely tiny. That's
Okay.
4, I believe.
Okay. Alright, so then we have Deborah.
Debris.
Whatever. AKA.
Yeah, Debris.
Well, yeah, AKA Deborah. So I was
There
on.
you go.
I was on the page.
Deborah
okay.
Fields.
Yeah, Deborah Fields. Okay, so superpower,
That's five.
low-level telekinetic trickster.
Yeah. She makes a bunch of debris happen.
So there you go, folks.
There's your five.
There's your 5 cast.
So let's go over it one more time. We got Squirrel Girl, Mr. Immortal, oh come on,
Speedball,
Speedball,
Micro B.
Micro B, and Debris.
So there is your cast, if you will.
Your cast.
Oh,
of
no.
characters.
One more character, actually.
We got
have
6.
6. I'm sorry. So,
We got a 6.
Night Thrasher.
Oh yeah.
AKA Dwayne Taylor.
Okay,
Superpower none.
that's a great name though.
He has no superpower.
Dwayne Taylor. That is a great name.
So there you go. 6 characters for the
There you
new
go.
Warriors.
Yep. So if you didn't know who they were, now you know who they are.
So
You have
there
anything else to-
is that aspect. And then
Anything else to cover?
continuing with Marvel.
So much Marvel.
So, Deadpool 2, we made the aspect earlier
Yep.
that Deadpool 2, or Fox basically, is taking Deadpool and making him the center of their
Indeed they are, which is a
universe
genius idea.
now. Which makes sense because Ryan Reynolds is definitely a good, hang on.
Good.
Hang on. He will be a very well...
Watch the way you put
He
this,
will
because
be
that man
an
is amazing.
extremely talented superstar. He will be an
Superstar.
extremely talented actor playing the role of Deadpool to pick up the lack of missing
Let
on
me
the Hugh
redo-
Jackman Wolverine.
Let me
situation.
redo this for you. He is the greatest thing about the MCU in Fox's world. And without Hugh Jackman, he's the only thing they got
Well,
right
that-
now that's a keeper.
Well, that's the thing is now that Hugh Jackman's gone, he's not the center anymore. They were the big pulls to
And we're
Fox.
still going to get
So-
some fun stuff with Hugh Jackman, and I put quotes around that, because he's going to make a ton of jokes about it, which keeps Hugh Jackman's name kind of in there.
So-
allows for the fun part
So
of it.
their new universe is more than likely going to be bordered around Ryan Reynolds.
Yes, it
because
will.
we already know
He's amazing.
Cable will be in Deadpool 2. Domino will be in Deadpool 2. So that allows you can have them have their own separate movie because we already know that we're going to get
X-Force.
X-Force.
It's in the works.
They're working on a script. And Domino and Cable were in X-Force.
Yep.
So therefore
And we
you get
already know that Negasonic Teenage Warhead and
is in the second movie.
Colossus have already been trying to recruit one Mr. Wade Wilson for the X-Men. So
we already know that we're going to get an X-Force movie based on around this aspect of Deadpool.
Yep.
And I think we can see a lot more. They will be basing a lot more around Deadpool, and
don't
I think that
forget-
is good.
don't forget
Basing-
one important thing about the X-Force movie. The new suit that's going to come
Well, that's
with
if
the
Deadpool
X-Force
is
movie.
in it. That's if Deadpool's in it.
You're
You
going
don't
to make
know
an
that.
X-Force movie without Deadpool in it. When Deadpool is your key concept to that movie working at this point.
Well, it is possible that will be like the third installment, basically, instead of Deadpool 3. X-Force.
That's what I figured.
But
Come on.
the thing is now you made me lose my train of thought here because
Deadpool wrote it right off the tracks.
I was on a roll. I had something to talk about, and you distracted me. You said something.
Deadpool jumped in and wrote it right off the tracks.
Where was my brain at?
Don't worry, we're only
Do you have
15 minutes in.
do you have more to talk about?
I've got DC stuff to talk about, but
What-
the fact that
I'm talking about Deadpool situation.
the fact that-
something.
if X-Force didn't have Deadpool, you're making a giant mistake, not only marketing-wise, but everything else. Because you have one character right now that is fully grounded and fully entrenched with a huge fan base. And that's Deadpool, because Wolverine is now no longer there. You have no Wolverine to pull off of. literally Deadpool is your moneymaker. And I'm not trying to make this sound like kind of every business strategy ever done, which is take your moneymaker and throw them into everything. But that's what you need to do with something like the X-Force. You can't just go and be like, let's make an X-Force movie. Is Deadpool going to be in it? Nah, we don't need him.
Well,
you can't do that.
Well, I think the thing is, too, with the Deadpool situation is why we got such a good movie from Deadpool and then the good movie from Logan.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give the factoids now because, we've been doing that lately at the end of the movie. Or at the end of the movie. End of the podcast.
We've been doing our fun facts.
So we'll give the fun facts for the week now because it's relevant. The reason why Deadpool and Logan were so good is because the actors were committed to the role. They actually took pride in that.
Yep.
And you can see that with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman.
10 years that Ryan Reynolds was trying to be Deadpool?
And so Ryan Reynolds, he actually took a pay cut in order to make the movie rated R and make it good. And Hugh Jackman did the same.
Yep.
He took the pay cut to make it rated R and get the movie done right.
Uh-huh.
So they were both willing to take pay cuts because it's not all about money to everybody.
Yep. And that's what
It's
makes
a matter of how the character is portrayed. And guess what? Both of those movies, phenomenal. And the character was portrayed.
We've gone over this before. I believe it was the first podcast we covered it. A lot of people want to state it's the rated R that made it good. That's not what made it good.
It's the actors being committed.
It's the actors being so committed and everyone working with that movie giving 100% to that movie. You can feel it watching it.
I would say, honestly, if Fox never had Ryan Reynolds for Deadpool or Hugh Jackman as Wolverine,
it wouldn't have been as
Fox
good.
Wouldn't have.
It wouldn't have been as good.
So, if we ever were to do something other than a podcast for this channel, if we were ever to do some spin-off things where we would pick our top
I can tell you now, number one's Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman.
No one's beating Ryan Reynolds out for my favorite superhero actor.
So in the weeks past, I have bashed kind of Sony and Fox. However, but the thing is I'm not really the one that's bashing them.
You're not hating them.
Because I said earlier in this podcast that I actually am a fan of a lot of the X-Men movies. Granted, yes, they don't quite line up and make the
timeline that
best
should.
stuff. But I think the movie itself, because you don't always have to look at it as an overall picture. People need to keep that in mind. Yes, it is the same thing, but you should rate the movie itself. And the movies, a lot of them are pretty good, in my opinion. Everything's based on my opinion.
I can't say much.
But the thing is, I don't actually really hate Fox personally. The reason why I'm stating the stuff that I did...
We don't hate any of these production companies personally. We're just giving our opinion.
The reason why I said it in the past is simply because that's what the majority of people say, is they didn't like it and so forth. So I want to get that out there, that I wasn't really the driving force of that statement.
And we've stated it before. It's our opinion.
Yeah. So my opinion is really, I do like Fox. I like Hugh Jackman.
Great company.
And
they put out a lot of good movies, and Logan and Deadpool were just the top of their superhero.
Yeah, if we ever did a top
I'll tell you, Logan and Deadpool are right up there, number 1 and 2.
You could never picture anybody else playing Deadpool. So Ryan Reynolds. You could never picture anybody else doing Wolverine. So Hugh Jackman, and then a good one that I could pick right off the top of my head that's not in Fox is Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Oh, yeah.
Those would be the top 3 for us if we ever did a top. So if you're interested in top,
if you want top videos, let us know in the comments section.
Yeah, what top 5 or top
Goes
10
to you
of
people
whatever.
Listening to this through your Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, whatever you're listening to.
So top 10, top whatever, of whatever topic you want us to do a top 10 of or top 5 of. Let us know, because we could do that as a side thing. We would love to.
We trust us, our opinions will be very interesting, and you probably won't agree with much of them, but...
So there we go. We gave a little bit of that. So a little bit of that, a little bit of this.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Any more news before we head into the DC world?
So I guess there's one other thing that I can mention that's not Marvel or DC necessarily, is the Alien Covenant movie is coming out in about 2 weeks.
Really good trailer they released.
Personally, I actually haven't seen anything on it. I need to take time.
The trailer is really awesome.
But Alien Covenant is coming out, and I made the announcement a couple weeks ago for everybody that hasn't had the opportunity that you could pre-order tickets because you get something extra for doing so. You get rewarded.
Wonder Woman tickets are now available. Just gonna point that out.
Well, I don't know if you get anything extra. I have to look into
I
that.
just know they
But
went on sale.
the reason why this is going to get a little bit of spotlight here is simply because it was another situation, just like a Guardians of the Galaxy. If you pre-order your tickets through Alamo, I'm sure Carmike does its own unique thing, like how the Guardians was. And
You should check all your theaters if you don't have a Carmike or an Alamo. So.
Each one is probably doing something special because, like I said, with the Guardians. So, anyways, but Alamo in particular, they're doing like the specialty glasses and stuff, sort of like how I was talking about with Guardians that I already got. So keep that in mind.
Oh Lord!
Get those pre-ordered tickets because you can actually get extra stuff. Cost a little extra,
yeah.
But if you really like those movies like the Alien Covenant coming out in a couple weeks, make sure you get that and get that opportunity before it's too late.
Yeah.
I believe that's everything that's non-Marvel, non-DC.
Well, I just want to point out one thing because in case you have noticed on the video podcast here, when I look down at the computer, I'm looking at our time. We're already an hour in.
I had a lot of stuff.
You did. So let's hop over to the DC side.
Big speculations, but I did have some facts. So
let's hop over to the DC side of things, and I got a couple of things, and I want to start off with arguably what I think is the biggest of all the DC news that I could at least find while I was looking up stuff, and that is the rumor of who will be directing the new Flash movie. Now, I just want to know, when I say the name Robert Zemeckis, does that name mean anything to you?
You know I don't know much about
Yes, I know, but I'm just wondering. Doesn't mean anything.
No.
No, it doesn't ring a bell. Have you heard of Marty McFly and Doc Brown?
No.
Oh, God. Well, just point out that I'm sorry, I'm butchering his name now. Zemeckis directed Back to the Future.
Oh, well, why did you say that? I thought the name sounded familiar.
Marty McFly.
I thought you were trying to give me a title of a movie.
No, that was your hint. He directed Back to the Future. He is currently the man in talks to helm the Flash film.
That's funny because Flash.
I found it extremely humorous that we may get Flash doing Back to the Future. And it's like the coolest concept ever. So I thought that was awesome. He's going to probably be the director for the Flash if everything goes well. And that is going to mean amazingness for the Flash movie.
I love that.
I know.
Honestly, that's a
so
nice
good.
choice. That is good.
It's so good. I absolutely love that. Now, if you want to, you can touch on something next if you'd like to. Because next thing for me is...
You don't have a segue for anything.
Well, I don't, but the next thing I kind of want to talk about is wrestlers and DC movies, because we talked about Black Adam last week.
Okay, well, we have a couple of different TV announcements then.
Yeah, let's go with that then, because I've got one thing you're going to talk about there, too.
So, Hulu has a documentary coming out.
It looks so good. It's the only thing that makes me wish I had Hulu.
Batman and Bill. Well, maybe we can watch it on the free time. I got Hulu.
I love it. They're going over the backstory to Batman. Oh my God, it makes me so emotional, and Batman is happiness and hearts.
So that's interesting. That's something to look forward to from DC's side. It's not always about...
It's going to be so good.
It's not always about live action.
It's going to be so good.
So we got documentary. And then going over to the live action side of things, we have Teen Titans that's been rumored for years, but we finally get some announcements.
Because now the fun part of this is the Titans live action series was originally supposed to be on TNT. They said no to the pilot. So that's the interesting thing about it. TNT said straight up, no, we're not doing it anymore.
And then the more interesting thing is we already know that the CW actually have 4 ongoing series currently that have to do with DC. And
Supergirl, The Flash, The Arrow, and
then they have that
League of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow.
I'm
close,
sorry.
Close enough. It started with an L, whatever.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I
but
much of it.
And then they've got Constantine on their network now.
Black Lightning's coming out as well.
Is that on the CW?
Yes, that's going to be on the CW.
Oh, there we go. So they actually have 5 ongoing ones, and then they have Constantine on their network, which I don't think they were going to get a season 2 for Constantine.
I don't believe
However, he was introduced in their universe, and CW being in charge of it now, I say that he could have some crossovers.
Yeah, we could see him popping up.
So that's cool. But so the thing
Titans.
The thing that I wanted to say about CW is that they were interested. of actually getting more DC content. So
that's surprising
that's
that
kind
they
of
didn't go after Titans.
that's kind of interesting. Well, the thing is I think that they were willing, but I want to say that DC is just starting their own Netflix, if you will,
coming out in 2018. So
they're
next
putting
year.
Season 3 of Young Justice,
which has been one. I have not watched any Young Justice. I've heard it's very good. I just haven't watched any of it. That's coming out there, and people have been raving for that.
Season 3 of Young Justice, and then Teen Titans will be on that as well.
That's the only thing that makes me extremely excited.
And then you will see.
I really would like to see it.
All the other DC content on there as well, I'm sure. But
so it's DC Netflix.
It's interesting how you see that, because I think that it would be coming out, obviously, after their deal with Netflix, because more than likely they're going to put it all on their own thing and rather than Netflix.
And they made a deal with Netflix to get their stuff exclusively to Netflix.
Yeah, but now I think they're switching it to their own network. But the interesting thing is that CW has these other shows, and they're on their network. So what are they going to be on the CW's network as well as on that?
I would assume so.
It just seems weird.
Well, now, this comes from a money standpoint, in my opinion, and they can get more money from the network as well as their Netflix thing that they're coming out with. I don't know what it's going to be called. DC Flix.
DC Flix.
Names in work. But yeah, arriving 2018, and the big question I have for it, and you argued with me about this, because we were talking about this before we started. You argued with me that you thought it was a weird idea that they were doing it.
Doing the
Netflix thing.
No. I don't think that it's a weird idea.
Oh.
That wasn't what I was saying.
Okay. I thought you were saying it was like a weird idea that they were doing it.
No. It's smart because it makes them money.
Oh, yeah, it makes them a lot more
What
money.
I was saying is, I think that I'm getting a little tired of all these places coming out with their own streaming service, because they all cost money. If you get they all have their exclusives. So if you pay for all of that, you basically are fucking paying for the damn cable that supposedly this is supposed to be taking the place of cable.
I was about to say it pretty much acts as cable if you have all of them.
And it's supposed to be the cheaper alternative. But if all these people keep having their own separate ones, it's not cheap anymore. Because you have like the same amount of money coming out for cable or dish or whatever that you would be paying for all these networks if you're a diehard fan that wants to watch all of it. That is, obviously not everybody gets all those, but I'm just saying those of us that would want to watch all that, that costs a lot of money. That adds up.
Because I would assume it would probably be around $7 to $10.
And that's what I was saying. It wasn't the fact. It's smart from a business standpoint.
From a business standpoint, it's genius.
As far as the casual viewer and people that want to watch it,
you may not
really
get everybody you want.
It really sucks because they're coming out with more and more apps that are like that and whatever, and it's totally.
And the one way and
plus Netflix raised their price, and so
there's one thing I want to touch on this, and this is just me looking at it from the business standpoint, and the one bad thing about it. Now I'm taking this from a different standpoint because I'm a wrestling fan, so I have the WWE Network. It's the same situation. It's pretty much Netflix for wrestling. With this DC Netflix type thing, you're not going to get as many people going straight for it as you think you are. Because with the WWE Network, they expected a ton of people to buy it originally. They had a good amount of sales early on, but it took forever to hit 1 million. Like, they took, 2 years, I think, before they hit 1 million subscribers to the network?
Well, because if you think about it, I think they have a little bit of WWE footage back to a couple years, or at least a year or so, on Hulu.
Yeah.
For Raw and SmackDown.
Well, they don't put that on the network, though.
Oh,
they do not put recent episodes of Raw and SmackDown.
I don't have the network. Obviously, you can tell from that statement. But
that's the only bad thing about DC doing this. They're not going to get 1 million people subscribing immediately. You're not going to get that. It's going to take time. So you're going to need those kind of free 30 days or something to be a necessity and try and impress the hell out of people with that.
Honestly, not to mention, I think it's smart from a business standpoint, but at the same time, like you were saying, I don't know. I know there are comic book movies and they're getting more fans nowadays, more people getting into comics because of all this and everything. So I do get that it is blowing up.
But it doesn't have that fan base that's going to go after.
I still don't think that
Netflix.
everybody is going to care enough to get a comic book related thing.
I'll tell you now, as much as I would love it, I wouldn't probably go out of my way to get it.
Now, I'd say that if Marvel and DC actually came together,
if you had like a comic combination thing,
that would be worth it.
Then yes, maybe $10 a month, and you get all the animated movies from Marvel and DC.
And maybe not even just Marvel and DC, maybe like the actual just comic books in general, but we don't have to get into that. I'd say with just the Marvel and DC, if they actually came together, they split the cost going into making it, and then they split the profits 50-50 because that's fair.
Yeah.
So I'd say if they did that together rather than making their separate streaming systems, that would be worth the money.
One question, is Marvel making a streaming system?
No. But my point was...
If they did. It's a giant if they had.
My point I think that's another thing, too, that DC doesn't have. I think that Marvel really has more out there already, and DC doesn't have that much of a base.
The argument I can make for DC, and this is the one argument that can beat Marvel in that they have more out there, the animated universe.
Yeah. That is the thing.
And that is what I think can draw to the Netflix thing. If you have the entire animated universe library available, so I'm talking like you get the new Teen Titans movie, The Judas Contract, that's up there. You get the old school one. Like, you could even have some old school Batman stuff.
Well, I'm sure they will. I mean, it's going to be their network. I'm sure they're going to put everything on there.
Yeah, I would hope they put all of it up there.
But, yes, that will draw people in, because even if you look at it from a standpoint of just the animated series, I mean, sure, adults watch it and everything too, but that will draw in kids too, because they can see it on the TV and they'd be like, "Mom, Dad, I want this."
You'll have your Teen Titans Go. So you'll have whatever the new one is that I can never remember.
So I could see the pull from that standpoint. That is something that DC does have over Marvel. They do a lot more animated. So I agree.
Quite successful with them.
But I still think that it's a
risk.
Risky.
It is a risk. So with that being said, let's jump into some other things. First and foremost, I want to go over something a little different here. We're used to talking about casting on here plenty. We talked about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson being Black Adam. Well, I was reading an article, and it caught my eye because me being a wrestling fan, I see Mike Mizanin, otherwise known as, of course, in the wrestling world, The Miz, on it. And he talked about wanting to be in comic book and DC, or comic book movies in general, because such a big thing, like everybody wants to do it now. We've covered that before. He said he wanted to be Deadpool, because he always loved that role. And Ryan Reynolds is perfect for that role. Nobody's better than him, but The Miz could roll with that role, and I could see him working it. If you don't know who The Miz is, I really recommend going and looking up his new stuff. It's extremely good.
You know, I could see them, if they didn't want to do Ryan Reynolds playing both roles of Deadpool, bear with me with what I just said, I could see them pull a alternate universe aspect.
And The Miz plays Deadpool.
Yeah, and then have somebody else play as Deadpool for that alternate, as like maybe a one-time thing that they do or whatever.
I could see that. But this is where I'll bring it up. He then brought up the DC side of things, because really all he cared about for Marvel was Deadpool, because he liked the whole Merc with the mouth character. He brought up possibly wanting to be Booster Gold. Conveniently, there have been rumors of a Booster Gold movie wanting to be made, and possibly being made. Now, from what The Miz has done lately, in his promo work in the ring, fuck it, I want it. That was one of the few times I forgot we're clean.
Do you know much about the character? Because I don't.
Booster Gold, okay, cocky attitude with that little bit of joke.
So is it somewhat similar to Deadpool?
Somewhat, except he's not going to constantly make jokes.
He's more serious.
Yeah, he's much more of the guy who's gonna kind of stand up and be like, "I got this." And then go and try and find, and then if it doesn't work out, it'll be like, "Guys, help." That type of aspect. Okay. He's more so kind of, from at least the little bit that I know about Booster Gold, I don't know a ton. he's more along the lines of that superhero that everyone kind of wants to hate. But he's just so much fun to see that you just don't hate him. And I think The Miz, as at least a WWE character, brings that perfectly. So I'd be down to see him be Booster Gold. Now, his Marine movies, we won't talk about those because they're not superhero movies, and I don't want to go in detail about those for a multitude of reasons. But I would not hate seeing more wrestlers in movies if they've got the chops to do it. And we talked about one thing just jokingly, John Cena coming in and doing a movie.
Well, I think wasn't it like rumored like
That would
over a
be
year
great.
ago or more that he was going to be Shazam or something?
No, there was no rumor
That
of
was
John
just
Cena
like a
being
fake
Shazam.
made up
No,
thing.
there was no rumor of John Cena being Shazam.
Okay.
And I'll just say this, John Cena literally should never be in a superhero movie. I do not want to see that.
Unless he's just...
He's a good comedic actor.
If
He's a good comedic
He
actor.
should just be in there as himself.
Yes. He'd throw his hat at Darkseid and Darkseid dies immediately. That's just John Cena right
He
there.
just shows up and it's like, his name is John Cena.
Batman's like, we found help. But personally, I wouldn't mind seeing wrestlers that have the kind of chops on the mic.
I think that if
Get
they
those
fit the
roles.
role.
If they fit the role, definitely. And I think The Miz could rock Booster Gold quite well. And I highly suggest if you haven't seen his latest work on the mic, definitely check it out if you want to know exactly if he could fit the role. Very good stuff as of late. Now we've got some bigger news when it comes to the Justice League characters and Justice League itself. The newest promo photo for Justice League has brought back everyone's least favorite superhero, at least in my opinion. Jesus himself, Superman, and, conveniently, in his original suit. So they're not teasing his black suit yet. We know he has the black suit in the movie at some point. I'm wondering if them putting him on the Justice League, the new photo, means he's coming back in the first part. Because it worries me that he's now in there when they've done so many photos of just the five. And now they suddenly put him right back on the front of the Justice League.
I think if anything, they should just tease it. I think putting him in directly would be just to ruin the film.
Mm-hmm.
But
Once again, we've covered it before. I think it should be a post-credit scene.
And we also said it before that at this point DC seems to be kind of scrambling all over the place in a hurry to compete with Marvel, and that's not how you should handle things.
No, it's not.
So they really should learn from their mistakes. And honestly, it looked like Justice League had a little glimmer of hope, but that information really no. I hate to say it. Honestly,
I just know that he's in the new promo photo, and
we've
I
said in the
hope
past,
that it doesn't mean he's coming back in part one. Part two? Yes. Part one, no.
I have faith that these other films for DC...
And we'll touch on the next one to come out here in a
as
second.
Solo films.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Wonder Woman looked great.
Well, it looks.
However, yeah. Well,
June 2nd, man.
but I think that Aquaman sounds like it's going to be the better one out of all of these.
That's
and then the little bit of flash information that you gave.
Now with
that intrigues
possibly
me.
Back to the Future being
That intrigues me.
aside.
The Ben Affleck Batman movie, that intrigues
If it
me.
ever gets out of hell.
And then that's spinning into like Bat Family series.
Which would be great. If they listen to the podcast, hopefully.
All of that sounds amazing. Well, no, they are doing like Nightwing and stuff.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean.
But I think from the aspect of they take the
they take the Batman universe.
Take the universe of Gotham and just expand on that for the future. Yeah, and just make
our
the
Batman
Batverse
universe.
instead of the DC universe. Yeah, that would fix everything.
It would.
But
we get back to the soups here.
But yeah, dude. You know, the weird thing is the least two that I'm worried about out of this is like I said, as I told you, Flash, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman sound like they would be pretty promising, and Batman. So those four.
Man of Steel 2 and
Man of Steel 2 actually does sound a little bit appealing if it could be done correctly.
Yeah, if it's
whether it will be done
what
correctly.
is it? Is it Cyborg?
It just seemed.
And, Justice League that you're having issues
It
with?
seems like Superman, every time he's involved, they are pushing the shit out of him.
They're giving him the John
And
Cena treatment.
It is unnecessary. You have these other characters that you need to be pushing, and it's just unnecessary. And then
Find it funny we're using wrestling terms too. Push.
And then Cyborg. I haven't heard much about his film.
It's
I don't know
been
if there's
very
anything
quiet.
talked.
It seems like it's been very quiet on the
And
Cyborg
personally,
side.
I don't really care for the way he looks on film.
I'm gonna wait till the movie comes out to see entirely how it looks.
No, I might like the way he's portrayed, but I'm saying like the.
Oh yeah, I know what you know.
I don't like the
Cyborg-wise.
changes. Well, that's the thing is I also don't know too much about Cyborg, but from what I know him from is from the Teen Titans animated show,
and that's why I think
the good one, not Teen Titans Go, but I know him from there, and I'm just used to him looking like that.
Yeah.
And that Cyborg, I actually like that Cyborg.
Yeah, that Cyborg's awesome.
But this movie version, I don't like the way that they decided to remake the way he looked and everything. He really is more CG than anything.
I'm holding on
to
hope that when the final product comes out, the look kind of goes along with it. Like the little bit of changes they might make to it.
Personally, I'm hoping that they do another take for Cyborg in the Teen Titans TV series.
They might.
And I hope that one is done the nicer way.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, the two ones that I am the least caring about out of Justice League is Superman and Cyborg.
I fully agree with you, though.
The other four seem more promising. And really, I didn't care much about Barry either. I didn't care about The Flash because I personally liked the TV series. And
I know you're extremely high on
I didn't
Flash,
like
the TV
that,
series.
that they didn't take the Flash TV series as well as Arrow and put them in the same verse.
Well, Arrow, you are a little more mad about for personal reasons.
Well, I really like the Green Arrow, and the actor plays it well. And I think that if they get a new actor, they would ruin everything. So I think that's smart that they didn't put him in the movie.
Might see him later on, possibly.
I hope it's the same guy, and they just say that it's a different universe or something.
Never know.
But
we will never know until it happens.
And I don't really care for the way the suit looks, kind of, for the Flash in this. What it is, I don't like the cybernetic shit. I didn't care too much for the Batman suit either.
I like the Bat suit.
That one is the most.
I like the Bat suit.
I do like it. I do like it. It is unique, and it made him seem.
Good. It makes him look
more
bigger,
intimidating. So no, okay.
I love they went Dark Knight Returns too.
Let me rephrase that. Actually, the Batman one was actually done pretty well. How in the Flash one is okay, but the Cyborg one, no.
So no to the Cyborg suit.
Flash is intermediate.
Flash is okay, and then Suits is Suits.
But what's saving the Flash for me is that little information that you gave. I think the Flash film will be good, but yeah, Cyborg and Superman,
But I saw that, and the first thought that came to mind is, please don't tell me this means he's coming back in the first part. I don't think he will, but let's hope. It is Zack Snyder, and we know how much he seems to like Superman right now. But finally, last bit of news we need to go over today is the newest Wonder Woman TV spot. Not only gives us our release date of June 2nd in it, but it gives us about 3 frames of a little guy that we've been waiting to see for a long time, and they did it the right way, not like Doomsday just throwing them into our face. They give you a nice little about 3 to 4 frames of you getting to see about this part. That's about it of Ares. Love it. From just a bit that I paused on during the trailer, the suit looks great. You can't see much of it. The sword looks great. And I can't wait to see the battle scene between them.
I haven't
God
seen
of War is here.
I haven't seen the new trailer, but as I was saying,
it's very battle heavy.
I really feel like DC should have focused on their solo movies before media actually cared.
It is what they should have done. And this Wonder Woman movie looks phenomenal.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it looks great. And like I said, Aquaman sounds great. Flash now sounds great. Their standalones should have been done first. Then maybe I actually would have gave a crap about Justice League. But Justice League sounded like another...
quickly thrown together
mess. BVS, possibly.
It's going to be hard for them to be as bad as Batman vs Superman.
I think that the trailer, which granted is the trailer, but the trailer made it seem like it has much more potential than Batman vs Superman.
Let's keep in mind, and this is one thing I like to say about DC, and it hurts me to say it, they make a great trailer. They always make a great trailer.
Not topping Thor Ragnarok, though.
Oh, no. That was just a whole lot of fun.
A lot of movies...
lot of fun.
Interesting tidbit. A lot of movies, they base how well they think that the movie will do and stuff
like
that, off the trailer and how many views it gets in like the first 24 hours or whatever.
Thor
Ragnarok beat out everything.
Wow.
Well, everything. As in, like, Beauty and the Beast. It beat out Star Wars. It beat out anything DC's had by a long shot.
Ragnarok looks like
by a long shot. Like, best freaking trailer that's ever been released.
But
according to that.
But with
comic book related, I don't know.
With the whole with the whole thing about DC and their trailers, I've always said they make a damn good trailer. They make a really good trailer. That was also the issue with Batman vs Superman. Until they gave us Doomsday, that movie looked like it had promise. Until they showed us Doomsday. And it ruined the movie because we knew who the main villain was and they didn't surprise us. Here we're getting...
Because before they introduced Doomsday, honestly, they made it seem like it was just Lex.
Exactly. It made it so interesting.
It made it seem like it was a fight between Batman vs Superman, like it should have been.
And Lex was pretty much controlling it.
And Lex was manipulating it. And that seemed interesting.
Yeah, it seemed good. And then of course, we got Doomsday.
And then you have the Doomsday situation as well as the team up.
What did I called him a mutated or a rejected Ninja Turtle. That was what he was, a rejected Ninja Turtle. But let's step away from that and try and leave it where it should be, that way back there in the past in the garbage can. You look at the Wonder Woman trailer, and we're getting something a little bit different than we've already gotten. That is a ton of fight scenes. We get a little bit at the beginning when she meets Chris Pine's character, when he washes up on Themyscira. But we get that. We get then her in her gauntlets, her with her sword and shield out, her fighting Ares for that brief second. It's all action, and it gives us that brief glimpse of the villain that everybody's been thinking was going to be in it, but we never got to see. So we get that tiny little hint of, oh, here's your Ares. You don't get to see his face, there's your Ares.
But the thing is they are dropping that little bit of hint, and it is...
Well, that doesn't hurt it, though.
Hopefully they don't release anything else.
Oh, no, I've got a feeling this will probably be the last big trailer before the movie comes out.
I mean, if it comes out in June, then
June 2nd,
so we
have literally 3 days in a month. So I got a feeling we'll get maybe one more, and it still won't show Ares. It'll be very similar to what we got, I think, here, if it's not the last one. It seems to cover a lot. But I'm super hyped for that movie now after seeing that glimpse of Ares. I am extremely hyped for that movie. It also introduced one of the actor's characters. Don't remember who it was. He's at the end of the trailer. I hate that I can't remember. But I'm more hyped than I already was for that movie just because we get this little glimpse of Ares. And for the first time, they didn't use the theme in the trailer. I don't think they did, at least. At least I didn't kind of hear it. So that made me excited, even though I do like the Wonder Woman theme.
I'll have to take a look at the trailer.
I
haven't taken the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, you got a lot of trailers to look at. Did you take a look at Krypton?
No.
You need to do that too. So that's it for this week's episode. So, unless you got a fun fact to give.
No. We already gave the fun facts, but I'll just reiterate kind of what I said a little earlier. Mm-hmm. We will be doing a Star Wars only podcast.
Yep. Special May the 4th be with you episode.
On Thursday, as well as the same day this is going up, we will be doing a live stream.
Our reactions, pretty much.
No. You're getting ahead.
Oh, I am? I thought that
we will be doing a live stream of the Guardians Telltale game.
Okay, that's what that is.
And
that's what that is.
Then, speaking of what you said,
yeah,
we will be seeing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 on... We'll be seeing it on May 4th.
Yeah, technically the 4th.
But we will be doing... We will possibly do our first ever live podcast.
Yep, live reactions
on Saturday.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume a Dose.
So that will be done on Saturday, what would that be? The 6th? So look forward to that because we will be going live for the first time ever on this channel.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting, setting that up in itself.
So
that'll be interesting.
There's your information about the future of what's going on here at the Casual Comic Cast.
We might be able to set a schedule for the live stream. So just in case we do that, if you're not subscribed already, make sure to subscribe and like and all that fun stuff so you know when it's coming. You can hit that reminder button. And then you'll be reminded and all that fun stuff. But remember, guys, you don't have to know everything to call yourself a nerd.